My name is Lynn. I'm sitting in my car, blocking an old number that used to bring me so much pain. The memory of that fateful night still stings, but it also fills me with a sense of liberation. It all started when I found myself at my ex-boyfriend Jake's apartment, earlier than I'd told him I'd come. I had a key, a symbol of the trust and closeness we once shared. As I let myself in, the apartment was quiet, save for the low hum of the refrigerator. But then, I heard laughter, his and a woman's, coming from the bedroom. I walked down the hallway slowly, each step feeling like a weight on my heart. The door was slightly ajar, and I pushed it open wider. There was Jake, sitting on the bed in an old t-shirt and sweatpants. His ex-girlfriend, Ava, was beside him, shoes off, looking way too comfortable. They were sharing earbuds and watching something on his laptop as if they were a couple. They both looked up when they saw me. "What the hell?" Jake exclaimed, scrambling to his feet. "You said 7, Ava added sharply. "I changed my mind," I replied. In that moment, I knew that our relationship had changed forever. Let me rewind a bit. I'm a software engineer, and I've always had a stable income. I work for a big tech company, getting a regular salary and great benefits. Jake, on the other hand, was a freelance graphic designer. His projects were inconsistent, clients would come and go, and getting paid on time was a constant struggle. For 2.5 years, I'd been the supportive, loving, and understanding girlfriend. I never thought of myself as someone who kept score. When Jake complained about his high phone bill, I added him to my family plan without a second thought. When he joked about the rising cost of streaming services, I shared my Netflix, Spotify, and Amazon Prime accounts with him. I even subscribed to a grocery delivery service that sent his favorite organic snacks to his place twice a month. We weren't living together, but we were close. People around us thought we were headed for a long-term commitment. Jake would talk about our future, and I believed him. I was so caught up in being the perfect partner that I didn't realize the signs. Then, one Thursday night at 11:30 p.m. While I was still working on a presentation for a client meeting the next day, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Jake. "Hey babe, just wanted to give you a heads up. Don't overreact, but Ava showed up at my place tonight. She'd been drinking and said it was too late to drive home, so I let her crash on the couch. Didn't want her getting a DUI or something. I know it's weird, but I was just trying to be a decent person. Love you." Ava was his ex-girlfriend, the woman he dated for 3 years before me. He'd sworn he hadn't spoken to her in over a year and had painted her as ancient history so convincingly that I'd stopped asking about her. I stared at the screen for a long time. My first instinct was to call him and demand answers, but something held me back. Maybe it was the "don't overreact" warning, or the fact that he texted instead of calling. I decided to play it cool and replied, "Makes sense. Stay safe." He sent back a heart emoji, thinking everything was okay. But I couldn't sleep that night. I lay on my couch, replaying every possible scenario in my head. By 6 a.m. I had a moment of clarity. I opened my phone and started disconnecting Jake from my accounts one by one. I removed his line from my phone plan, changed the passwords of my streaming services, and canceled the grocery subscription. By 6:45 a.m. It was done. I waited for his reaction. At 9:23 a.m. The first text came in. My phone isn't working. Did you forget to pay the bill or something?" I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, another text. "Babe, Netflix isn't loading either. What's going on?" Still, I stayed silent. By noon, my phone was buzzing non-stop with his messages. Confusion turned to irritation, and then to accusation. "Are you seriously ignoring me right now? This is childish. I told you nothing happened. Ava left early this morning. Why are you acting like this?" At 1 p.m. I finally replied, "We need to talk. I'll come by tonight at 7 o'clock. He was eager for me to come over and promised to explain everything. But I showed up at 6:30. Back in the bedroom, Jake tried to explain. "She just came back to get her wallet," he said. Ava jumped in, "I forgot my wallet. I came by to grab it and we ended up talking for a bit. That's all. You're reading way too much into this." But I could see the signs, the way they were sitting, the shared earbuds, and the fact that Jake was in his pajamas. Jake got frustrated. "Why are you making this weird?" he asked. That's when the conversation shifted from what had happened to my reaction to it. "We're just friends," Ava said, folding her arms. Nothing happened. I turned to Ava. "I wasn't asking you." Jake stepped between us, a subtle protective gesture. "Ava, can you give us a minute?" he said. She hesitated, then slowly put on her shoes. "I don't want drama. I thought you two were basically broken up anyway," she said as she left. Jake turned to me. "You ambushed me. That's not fair." I retorted, "I came to my boyfriend's apartment using the key you gave me. You said 7, and you lied about this morning." He insisted he didn't lie, but I could see through his excuses. I told him, "I'm not comfortable with you having your ex sleep over, her coming back, and you minimizing it. And you're acting like I'm being unreasonable for noticing." He snapped, "She's my friend. You don't get to control who I see." I nodded. "You're right. I don't. But I also don't have to fund your life while you disrespect me." He finally realized what I'd done. "You cut off my phone, my streaming, everything," he said incredulously. "They were under my name." "I removed myself," I replied. "You did it to make a point," he accused. "I did it because I'm done pretending this is normal," I countered. He scoffed, "Nothing happened." I said, "I don't believe you." That was the line he couldn't cross. His face hardened. "You're being insecure. And you're being dishonest." After that, he told me to leave. I smiled faintly and walked out. I blocked his number in the car, and that night, I slept for 9 uninterrupted hours. 2 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Ava. "I think you deserve to know the truth. Jake told me you two were having problems. He said you were basically done. We've been talking for a couple of months now. I didn't know you were still together like that." I felt a pang in my chest, not from heartbreak but from the clarity of it all. I screenshotted the message and blocked her. On Monday evening, I got a call from another unknown number. It was Jake's mother, Mrs. Thompson. She said Jake had been very upset because I'd shut off his phone and left him without a way to work. His income had been slow lately. I told her we were no longer together. She said Jake thought I was overreacting. I told her I'd found his ex-girlfriend in his bed. She tried to defend it, saying it was just what friends do. I reminded her that Ava had stayed 12 hours and they'd been texting for 2 months. I also let her know I wasn't turning anything back on. She said I could be more understanding, but I replied that I'd been understanding for 2.5 years, and then I hung up. A week later, Jake texted from a new number, complaining that he'd lost a client because of me. I didn't respond. That Thursday night, he called over and over. On the 8th call, I answered but stayed silent. He started apologizing, saying he'd been lonely and made a mistake. He said he missed me. But then, my younger sister Lily, who was sitting beside me, pressed play on a pre-recorded message that said, "This number has been disconnected and is no longer in service." Jake was stunned. Lily hung up, and we burst out laughing. After that night, I didn't hear from Jake directly again. He tried once through a mutual friend, asking if I'd at least consider talking. I said no without any explanation. Through our mutual friends, I heard that Jake and Ava tried dating officially, but it only lasted about 3 weeks. Once I stopped covering his expenses, things got tough for him. He leaned on Ava the way he'd leaned on me, and she didn't like it. She broke up with him, saying she wasn't looking to support a grown man. Without my financial support, Jake couldn't keep his apartment. He moved in with a coworker for a while, but that didn't work out either. Eventually, he moved back in with his mother. About a month after everything ended, Mrs. Thompson texted me. "I'm sorry for getting involved. I didn't know the full story. You were right to walk away." That meant more to me than any apology Jake never gave. As for me, my life got lighter. I took the solo trip to Colorado that I'd postponed twice during my relationship with Jake. I went snowboarding during the day and had long, peaceful dinners alone at night. The silence was restorative, not lonely. Somewhere during that trip, I realized that I hadn't been generous. I'd been afraid of being replaced. I'd confused over giving with security, thinking that if I made myself indispensable, I'd never be left. That realization stung, but it also set me free. 2 weeks after the trip, I matched with Ryan on a dating app. He's a physical therapist, calm and stable. On our first date, when the check came, he asked if I wanted to split it. I almost laughed with relief. 6 weeks into our relationship, we still split everything. He has his own life, his own boundaries. When I jokingly offered to add him to my streaming account one night, he shook his head. "Absolutely not. I like paying for my own stuff," he said. Then he asked if someone had done that to me before. I told him the whole story, and he listened intently. Then he said, "You didn't overreact. You reacted appropriately." That word appropriately hit me hard. I heard from a friend that Jake saw a photo of Ryan and me hiking that Ryan had posted. Apparently, Jake called our mutual friend crying, saying he'd made the biggest mistake of his life and that I was the best thing that ever happened to him. But it was too late. I'm no longer the woman who would read "Don't overreact" and stay silent. I know my worth now, and that's worth more than all the phone bills, streaming services, and financial support I ever gave. Sometimes, clarity comes at a cost, but it's always worth it.